I was initially going to make this a written piece for last week on the website bonusaction.ca. Check it out. It's a good website, and we just redecorated. It looks nice. That's bonusaction.ca. But I ended up scrapping it and restarting it roughly 3 times due to having a hard time trying to explain the mechanics. And this was before I realized, wait, I can just use this as the next video topic, which is exactly what we're going to be doing. As a concept, Metal Hellsinger shouldn't work. It's a combination first-person shooter rhythm game that strives to be the most metal game that it can be on this side of the Doom series. And it not only manages to work, but it works like gangbusters. And this is on top of being one of my favorite games of the year so far. So let's get to it. This is Mahmoud Adam, and I'm going to tell you what's good about Metal Hellsinger. Let's get the narrative out of the way because it's the first thing I want to highlight. You play as the Unknown, and even if I've had her voice taken from her, and is understandably really upset about that. After finding a skull named Paz, she proceeds to go on a roaring rampage of revenge through the 8 realms of hell in order to get to the judge, the ruler of hell, and the villain of our piece. Well, the story of this game is largely set dressing for the rhythmic demon blasting you'll be doing. It's surprisingly well told, mainly because of your skull Paz being voiced by Troy Baker doing his best Sam Elliott impression. He comments on the goings-on of each level and even highlights things found in the environment. It's neat for a first-time playthrough, but when you're redoing things for getting a high score, it can get a bit grating. Especially in my case when I was just recording this footage when I just wanted to be quiet so I can get back to shooting stuff. That one gripe aside, the way Metal Hellsinger just characterizes the Unknown is fantastic. It takes a Doomslayer approach to characterization, which is using body language and character animations to showcase the personality as opposed to spoken dialogue. This works because I'm a mark for that kind of character work in video games, and it makes sense considering that your character is mute. This leads to Metal Hellsinger being one of my favorite examples of integrating narrative into gameplay. And a good chunk of that comes down to the music. It's the star of the show, and it's the main thing that everything revolves around. Tatiana Schmelk of Ginger, Bjorn Strid of Soilwork, Matt Heafy of Trivium, Michael Stan of Dark Tranquility, Serge Tankian of System of a Down, Dennis Lyson of Refused Invasion, Lamb of God's Randy Blythe, Alyssa White and Glez of Arch Enemy, and James Dorton of Black Crown, Initiate, and Replicaire. These are the names tapped through the soundtrack of Metal Hellsinger, and the heaviness and quality of this work is shown in full force. The music is ever present, whether it's getting high score combos, killing bosses, or even participating in regular gameplay. The way they're tied to the gameplay is as such. You start off with a sword and your skull companion Paz, who serves as the game's pistol. These are your tutorial weapons for ensuring you how the whole shooting and rhythm of defeat mechanic works in the game, and do a good job of acclimating you to its strange and exciting new ways. But then you'll never use them again once you get your hands on Persephone, the game's shotgun. And let's be real, roughly 50 to 90% of the footage you're watching is me using a shotgun because it's the most approachable. And that's not true. You can probably still use Paz as a low range, low damage option to keep your score modifier up, but I sure as hell didn't. You also get the Hounds, which are a pair of black and white revolvers, ebony and ivory style, an explosive crossbow named Vulcan the Soulbreaker, and a pair of sentient boomerang throwing axe things called Hellcrow the Traitor Sovereign. If it's not apparent, this is a game that's super metal. All of them have their own unique properties, from fire rates to damage types to even having active reloads. And all of those are affected by the rhythm of the music. It's rad. Especially the active reload, because active reload is the best shooter mechanic introduced in the last 20 odd years. And this isn't even getting into how these are all augmented by the sigils that you can unlock through completing the 3 challenges of each level, because I'd be here all day. Not really, because there's 24 challenges in total spread across 8 levels, but that's still a lot. There's also a small amount of enemies to keep things varied, from the trash mob marionettes to the artillery firing cambions that are ultimate shielded varieties, the bigger and scarier behemoths and their speedier variants, the stalkers, the blade-spreading eyeless, the hierophants, which are basically this game's equivalent to the archbone, and I fucking hate them on that principle alone, and a final enemy type that I will not be spoiling because it's tied to the later part of the story. Their configurations and setup makes it so that there's an actual difficulty curve that ramps up quite nicely, with later levels basically throwing everything they've got at you in a way that feels super satisfying to just mow through to the beat of the music. And while 8 levels each ending in a boss fight seems kind of short, I actually prefer that greatly because it means that I can get through each level in around 10 to 15 minutes a pop and see if I can beat my high scores, which adds a lot of replayability to Metal Hellsinger. And that's the word that I want to give it as a primary descriptive. it's replayable to the point where I can find multiple loadouts of weapons to go with my sword and paths because they're always equipped, and I can get into a flow state where I have a few minutes to kill. Seriously, I was watching back on this footage while taking notes for the script, and this shit has essentially become muscle memory in a way that I can't describe still. It's eerily hypnotic and satisfying. Metal Hellsinger is a tad on the short side, but it's here for a good time, not a long time. Between its focused arsenal, adrenaline-pumping action, and best soundtrack in a video game since Hades and Doom Eternal, it's more than worth the time to get through it if you like one half of its concoction but are curious about how to work the other half. I highly recommend it. It's a hell of a good time. That was awful. I'm sorry. But that was it for this week's video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and share the video if you liked it, and also subscribe if you haven't already. It helps out a bunch. I'll see you in the next one, and have a wonderful day.